All right, welcome to Prep Huddle Live. Our Wednesday edition is back in action here, joined by Tony Chapman. And we've got a lot of catching up to do, Tony. We've been covering a lot of eight-man games and went to Grand Island Millard West on Friday. And we got some great games coming up, and we're just going to kind of recap and set up the eight-man semifinals, which is on Monday, and preview some of the football games here. And we're going to get right into this. It's cold out. We're inside, staying warm here, but we're going to keep this show moving, and we're going to be previewing some state volleyball coming up, which starts tomorrow. We're excited to have Berk Brown from NebraskaPrepVolleyball.com. He'll be joining us here in a little bit to talk about the State Volleyball Tournament. So, Tony, I'll let you take it away. I'm going to work on getting Berk in here on the Hangout. And fun little contest we're going to do. This t-shirt is yours if you want to jump in on this Hangout. We're kind of changing the format of the show a little bit with some time constraints we've had. So this is a Google Hangout on air here that we're doing. But if you want to jump in the Hangout, I'm going to shoot a link out to Twitter, and you can jump in and ask Tony or Berk from NebraskaPrepVolleyball.com any question you want. And the first person to do that will get this t-shirt right here. So, Tony, I'll let you take it away.
All right, thanks, Taylor. It looks like you might have a couple extra T-shirts back there too. Maybe we give away like 2 or 3 or 4.
That'd be great.
So, anyway, yeah, we wanted to start off. We're going to have Berk on here in a few minutes, and we wanted to start off and just kind of reset all of the semifinals that will be coming up in football. So Friday night we'll have the 11-man semifinals in A, B, C1, and C2. And then on Monday, we will have the 8-man semifinals, which would be D1 and D2. And then lastly, on Friday also, we have some exciting news today. We'll be streaming on the Riverside Chargers channel the 6-man state championship, which will be Riverside and Spalding Academy. And those two teams met earlier this year, so kind of a rematch game there that Spalding Academy won. And that game will be over at UNK at Cope Stadium. And Community Kearney does a great job embracing that football game. So that'll be fun that we'll be able to kind of showcase those 6-man guys and both of those programs that really are in their first year as 6-man. So that'll be fun to do on Friday. So without further ado, I'll just run in through the football semifinals that we want to get set up for Friday night. We still have in the 11-man ranks, we still have 3 Striv schools that are involved. They're in B and in C1. So in Class A, we have Omaha North, defending state champions. They will host Grand Island. That game will actually be at Omaha Northwest at Kinnick Stadium there. Omaha North is undefeated, the last remaining unbeaten team in Class A. Again, they won it all last year. They were a 1-loss team last year. Quick, interesting stat on that one. Grand Island Senior High is giving up 3 points in the giving up 3 points a game in the playoffs, and Omaha North is scoring 52. So something's got to give there. They played a classic last year in Grand Island in the semifinals, a 39-34 game where the lead, I believe, changed hands 3 times in the last 5 minutes of the game. So that should be a fun one. The other A semifinal will be Omaha Creighton Prep and Papillion La Vista South. Again, Papillion La Vista South into the semifinals for the first time in school history. They have Old Hastings High coach Walt Olson at the command there. He won state titles at Hastings High in 93 and 94 with the Tigers. So Papillion La Vista South kind of getting their program ramped up. They beat Millard North on the last play of the game last week with a field goal for a 38-35 win. And then Omaha Creighton Prep was a 30-27 winner over Striv School Omaha Central in that semifinal. I would mention Grand Island then obviously ended the season for Striv School Millard West in the Class A quarterfinal. So that sets up a semifinal rematch with Grand Island and Omaha North from 2013, and then the other finalists will be either Omaha Creighton Prep or Papillion La Vista South. So we'll move to B, and we've got just a rare thing going on in B where the B games will be in McCook, and they'll be in Scotts Bluff. So in the western, really third of the state. Scotts Bluff was a 30-28 winner over Beatrice on Friday, and Omaha Skutt was a 17-14 winner over Seward on Friday, and they will then, like I said, travel to Scotts Bluff. Skutt 9-2, Scotts Bluff 10-1, and then the other game is exactly the same records. You'll have Elkhorn was a 10-7 winner over Gretna, and they will travel to McCook, who was a 13-7 winner over Blair. So Elkhorn has actually won their 2 games by 6 points. You guys will remember that they knocked off Striv School of York in the first round, 27-24, kicked a field goal on the last play of the game. Then in the quarterfinals with Gretna, they survive a game that does not feature an offensive touchdown. Elkhorn scores their touchdown on a 75-yard blocked field goal return for a touchdown. Elkhorn, I believe, I read, had 5 yards of offense and 1 first down in the first half of that game. So that was a crazy one. They survived. And then, I believe, 4 turnovers, but they still beat Blair 13-7. Really a lot of defensive battles in the B quarterfinals. So we'll have Skutt, number 1, traveling to Scotts Bluff, and we'll have Elkhorn traveling to McCook in the B semifinals. So we'll move down to C1 then, and in C1 you have a rematch of last year's state championship game in one semifinal, which is Ashland Greenwood and Cozad. Both of these teams have rolled through the playoffs. I believe, I think I did the math, and they've won their 4 games by over 100 points combined. So this should be a really great football game. Nicholson and Chamulka and Craven are kind of the 3-headed monster for Ashland Greenwood, and then Connor Young obviously is having just a really good season for Cozad as they're looking to defend their C1 title. So that should be a really good football game. I believe 7 o'clock kickoff in Ashland for that one. So if you're doing a little football or a little volleyball and you need a break, Ashland's a pretty easy trip over to see a good football game there. The other C1 semifinal will also feature a Striv school, which is undefeated and top-ranked, Boone Central Newman Grove. They actually are traveling to Kearney. They'll play Kearney Catholic. How about the Stars? They have won their 2 playoff games by 2 points. So they beat Boys Town 27-26 in overtime in the first round, and then last week in the quarterfinals, they come back from, I believe, 21-12 down to beat Columbus SCOTUS on the last play of the game. It's a Grant Bushcutter field goal, and they get a 22-21 win over Columbus SCOTUS in the quarterfinals there. So just a really, really good Class C1 field still with Ashland Greenwood and Cozad, and then you have Boone Central Newman Grove, and also they will play Kearney Catholic in the semifinals there. So big night of football in Kearney then with that semifinal game in the 6-man state championship coming up there. So the last 11-man final does not feature any Striv schools, and it's heavily dominated up in the Northeast, where, man, a guy would love to work for the newspaper in Norfolk. I mean, this is they've got just great C2 football up there. So Battle Creek is unbeaten and really untested so far. 11-0. They'll play David City Aquinas 10-1. Aquinas does not have any losses in C2. Their lone loss is to Columbus Lakeview, I believe, or Columbus SCOTUS. I'm not sure. I might have to double check that one. So let me look at that really quick. Their loss is to SCOTUS. I apologize. So they had that loss to SCOTUS early in the year before district play. So that'll pit 2 teams that are really well coached, great football tradition at both schools. Battle Creek has given up 10 points in the playoffs. Aquinas beat St. Cecilia last week, 21-10 in Hastings. And then the other half of the bracket is Oakland Craig, who lost their quarterback early in the year, I believe on the second second game of the year to a broken leg, and he is back. And then they have fantastic runner Nick Arlt, who's I believe a 5,000-yard career rusher for Oakland Craig. They're 10-1, and then Hartington Cedar Catholic is 9-2. Cedar Catholic's 2 losses are to Battle Creek and to David City Aquinas. The Striv schools will remember they came down and beat Sutton in the first round 27-14 in a game we really, I think everybody thought might be a preview of who the finalists might be in that other semifinal. So Battle Creek plays Aquinas, and Hartington Cedar Catholic will travel and play Oakland Craig. And all those games and links and webcasts are up on our 11-man semifinal page now, which is on the site. So I'll quickly recap D1. Our rewind is up on the site. Those quarterfinal games were last night. The semifinals will be Monday, and then the finals are the following Monday, then before Thanksgiving. So in D1, you'll have Hemingford playing Elm Creek. Hemingford traveled to Fullerton yesterday. They get 341 yards and 34 carries from Ethan Skinner as they beat the Warriors 56-6. That's believed to be the first ever game in state history that pitted 2 5,000-yard career rushers in Skinner for Hemingford, and then Fullerton's Garrett Sonderup, who was obviously still a little banged up, not 100% from the Amherst game last week. They will play Elm Creek, who forced 5 turnovers up at Creighton and got a 30-8 win over the Bulldogs, who were the top seed in the West bracket. And then the other side of the D1 bracket will feature Guardian Angels Central Catholic. They were a 46-26 winner over Friend. And then you'll have Bruning Davenport Shickley, who was a 24-20 winner over Heartland Taylor. We were there last night. Really, really good football game. And Heartland, obviously, their season ends at 10-1, and BDS is 10-1 now. BDS will host that game. I believe with their alternating home fields, that game will be in Bruning on Monday night. For that one, Grant Norder had 137 yards rushing and 128 yards passing for the Eagles in that game, and you can read about that in the rewind as well. And then in D2, out west, we'll have Anselmo Myrna, who has just beaten the tar out of everybody. The Geyser kid has been just a special season for them. They beat Sandhills Thedford 44-8, and their semifinal opponent will be Maxwell, who is 10-1, and they beat Garden County, who was undefeated, 32-28. And then on the other side, you actually have a district rematch of Exeter Milligan and Fall City Sacred Heart. They were in the same district, and Exeter Milligan won that game early in the season, and they will face Fall City Sacred Heart in the semifinals. Those are the 2 defending 8-man champions. Exeter Milligan beat Hemingford in the D1 title game last year and has moved down, and Fall City Sacred Heart beat Stewart in the D2 final game last year, and they actually beat Stewart in the second round of the playoffs. So we just did that about perfect. I see Berk Brown just showed up on the hangout here, so I'm going to get a drink really quick, and then we'll dig into some volleyball if that's okay.
All right, Berk, and yeah, you can go ahead and unmute your mic. We just got you in. We've been trying to get him linked in. I don't know what it was, but it worked. So we're excited to have you on, Berk, and we've been following your site, and it sounds like you've been kind of following us, and we finally connected here at before the state tournament. We're excited to have you come on and kind of add some insight. Tony and I both admit we're not the volleyball experts, so we're going to lean on you and appreciate you coming in to offer your kind of insight on the state volleyball tournament coming up here. And we'll probably just start, I think, Tony, we're going to start at D2 and just kind of go up through our Striv schools, and then Berk, I kind of talked with you on email. If there's any games that you want to talk about that you're promoting on your site, we'd love to give you that opportunity as well. So again, Berk, from NebraskaPrepVolleyball.com. That's right, correct, right?
Yeah, absolutely, and I really appreciate you kind of bearing with me through my probably own technical inabilities there. I kind of had to kickstart my heart a little bit and get going, but really honored to be a part of this. What you guys do for high school sports is amazing, and so I'm just very honored to be a part of it, and I'm looking forward to it.
Berk, thanks for being on with us. We appreciate a guy that's got some volleyball knowledge. having lived in Grand Island, I've obviously been involved in the State Volleyball Tournament for the last really 4 years and helped out with that and been involved. And I guess I just wanted to get your take. Even as a Grand Island resident, to me it's a no-brainer that we get these girls to Lincoln, showcase them at the Sports Center and at Pinnacle Bank Arena. But wanted to get your take on kind of the new setup where they're going to one session every day. They're not going to ever kick anybody out of the arenas, which I think is great. And then the new two-court format, which I think will provide an exciting Friday if you love volleyball, to be able to see all the semifinal matches at Pinnacle Bank Arena. Just your thoughts on the new format this year for state volleyball.
Yeah. Let me first go on and say that the experience in Grand Island was phenomenal. I mean, I think what Grand Island did was amazing. You won't find anybody that has anything negative to say about that. And it was, I know, a tough decision for them to take it back to Lincoln, and Lincoln has huge shoes to fill based on what Grand Island did. And I really feel like down the road there is a legitimate chance that actually comes back to Grand Island or maybe even Kearney. I just think that people were so impressed with what was done out there. But, you know, at the same time, Lincoln, the facilities that they have there, chance for kids to play, Bob Devaney Sports Center is great. I'm with you. I'm excited about two courts at Pinnacle Bank. It will be a little bit interesting how that works, that dynamic, but you're right. I mean, if you've got, especially on Friday, that atmosphere should be electric. You have two courts, 4 student bodies, 4 communities coming together, 4 bands in the stands. I mean, it should make for an incredible atmosphere there.
Let's dig right into the volleyball. I think I'm just going to run D2 on up to A and kind of get your thoughts on who you think might be might win some of these games, and maybe put you on the spot and see who you think might come through these. But in D2, boy, got crazy in district season there, didn't it? So we had the top 2 seeds were the wild cards in Giltner and Stewart, and then the 3rd seed, Exeter Milligan, who is a Striv school. They obviously come out of what I think probably was the toughest district in the D2 state, and Lawrence Nelson and Bertrand, who have beat a lot of good teams this year. This one maybe is one you think that any of the top 6 seeds might be able to win, all the way down to Wynot based off their victory over Stewart in district play.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, heading into districts, I really fully thought Stewart was the team to beat in D2, maybe a notch ahead of everybody else. But the fact that they lost to Wynot, to me, I think makes it wide open. And I think some of the upsets that you saw in district play, that just proves how wide open it is. I know it's a Strive school, but Exeter Milligan is a team that I like a lot. They did come through a really difficult sub-district, getting past Meridian. That also included Hampton, some great teams. But I really like Amber Pribble. She's a middle out there at Exeter Milligan. I believe she's going to join her sister at Midland, or her sister's at Midland now. But what Darcy White's done with Exeter Milligan is really impressive. I actually kind of liked them to get to the final against Stewart, and that should be, if it happens, a great match. Stewart is a great team, though, too. But that's kind of how I see that one shaking out.
Very good. Yeah, if you're an old Crossroads Conference kid like I was, you remember Darcy White from when she was a Cuddebeck and played at Exeter, and was just a heck of an athlete. So always intense on the sidelines and focused with her team. So let's move up to D1, and this one is again, some great teams here, but gosh, we probably look at that and we see maybe a district final rematch possibly happening in the finals there. Your thoughts on St. Mary's, defending state champions in 31-0, and then maybe Ansley Litchfield on the other side, if anybody could maybe knock them off.
Yeah, I honestly don't know that anybody's in the same class as St. Mary's. I am of the belief that they would be very competitive even in a Class A environment. They may not have incredible height, but they just have incredible talent. So I like St. Mary's a lot. I think the fact that they swept Ansley Litchfield, who had only lost 1 set, I believe, all year before that district championship, it just kind of shows me St. Mary's is just in a class all by itself in D1. But just kind of looking at the bracket, I could see probably Axtell maybe giving Ainsley Litchfield a little bit of a run in a semifinal match to get to that final. Both of those are outstanding teams, but I do think you're right. I think we see Ainsley Litchfield against St. Mary's again, but it's really St. Mary's to lose at this point. They're just a dominant team from a Class D1 standpoint.
They, one thing I noticed, I was fortunate enough to watch some of the C1 sub district here in Grand Island with Central Catholic and St. Paul, and I noticed that St. Mary's beat St. Paul, and I was very impressed with St. Paul, and Coach Fairbanks there does a great job with those girls. So yeah, you're right. They must have a pretty good set of athletes there at St. Mary's to be able to move up even 2 classes and beat a team that's really probably a top 10 team in that class. So very good. So C2, we have 2 Striv schools there, and good luck to them. They drew Crofton and Freeman, who are 57-0. So we have Sutton, the 7 seed there, and when you look at them, what do I see? They're 27-5, and they're the 7th seed. And Southern Valley, a good season at 25-8, and Coach Miller's been at it a long time. So I think, obviously tough draws for them, but do you see anybody besides Freeman and Crofton there? Obviously, St. Cecilia's got great tradition there as well, so some really good teams, and of course, Guardian Angel Central Catholic. That's a really, really competitive class there.
Yeah, I think people would be shocked to watch some of the Class C2 volleyball because there is a lot of talent there. I mean, you're exactly right. I actually really like Sutton. I like the opportunity that they have. I mean, it's a difficult draw going up against Freeman, but let me tell you, I feel like Sutton matches up well with Freeman. They can give Freeman some issues defensively. Freeman's got a lot of height, big hitters. Carly Remmers, people love watching her play. She's a D1 recruit, but you know what? Sutton, Coach Kuntz is very good coach. I mean, he's going to have them ready. I think Kaylin Wiseman, their libero, is probably one of the best liberos in the state, regardless of class. And McKenna Grice is a great player for them as well. So I think Sutton presents some challenges to Freeman. Freeman has played the most difficult of schedule. More than half their matches were against Class D schools. Freeman's incredibly talented, but Sutton, I think, has a legitimate shot of winning that match. And you just touched on Southern Valley a little bit. Anytime you've got a player that had, I think, over 500 kills like Laura McInturf did, you've got yourself a fighting chance, right? I mean, it's Crofton obviously having a great season, but just tough draw for Southern Valley. But I think it's worth noting what a great season Laura McInturf had for them. She had just a fabulous season.
Down there, I see Guardian Angel Central Catholic, always good sporting tradition there, and then you see Hastings St. Cecilia as well. So that can set up for some dynamite semifinal matches there in C2, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, Hastings St. Cecilia is a traditional power. Claire Hamburger there is, I think, again, regardless of class, one of the best players in the state. She's headed to Hastings College play. I think she'll be an All-American there. And you're right, Guardian Angels has got a lot of height as well. They'll go 6'1", 6'2" up front. But even Centura, I think Centura could be a little bit of a sleeper pick to work its way through the upper half of that bracket. That's a school that's played a really tough schedule. They've played the St. Paul's, the Ords of the world, and that could be a team that could sneak through there, I think.
Excellent. Well, let's move to C1, and I think a lot of people have thought maybe we could crown Kearney Catholic, but with their late injury, and you see SCOTUS on their side of the bracket, and Concordia in Omaha has obviously had a very good season, and I see a lot of seniors on this Wahoo team that maybe they could cause some people fits, and Ogallala is always well coached out of the West, and it seems like they come to the state tournament every year and beat somebody they shouldn't. So, Is C1 maybe more open than some people might think it is?
I think it is, and I think Class C1 is actually the deepest class in the state. I mean, you touched on St. Paul, and there's a lot of great teams sitting at home from Class C1. So just the fact that if you're there in C1, you're a heck of a team. And I do think Kearney Catholic, they're very good, but they have some issues where they're not overly tall. And in the right matchups, somebody could take them down. I mean, you mentioned Omaha Concordia. They've got 6'2" outside hitter Megan Wicke, who's just she's a phenomenal player. She's headed to Ohio State. She's the kind of kid that could go out and put 30 kills down on Kearney Catholic if they can get past Grand Island CC in the first round and make their way there. Ogallala is another team that could easily beat Kearney Catholic. I shouldn't say easily, but has a legitimate shot at beating Kearney Catholic. Kendall Schroer is a 6'1" middle. She could have a lot of success against Kearney Catholic. She just signed with Nebraska Kearney today for volleyball. So that is going to be a wide-open class, and I do love that first matchup between Wahoo and Ogallala. I mean, you got a senior-dominated team in Wahoo that got their first taste of a state tournament experience last year. They're back this year, so each one of those Class C1 quarterfinals has got a chance to be really special. But I do like Kearney Catholic beating Concordia in the championship there.
All right, safe pick. Safe pick. We'll send this video up to Coach Zavala and see if she uses it. See if she uses it on the bus ride tomorrow.
I'm sure she will.
Let's move to B, where I'm sorry I don't know the number, but is it maybe B? Is it like B3 or B4? The whole district is there. You've got Scott, Elkhorn South, and Gretna. All four of those schools were in the same district. And actually, I guess 6 of the 8 qualifiers were from 2 districts, because Aurora and Northwest were in the same district as well. So this is another one that even at 20-19, when Jake Moore's on the sideline, Pius is a team that might be able to upset somebody. Who do you like coming out of B?
I don't know. I mean, I tell you what, every one of those quarterfinal matches has the potential to be as tight as a pair of yoga pants. I mean, it is ridiculous. Omaha Scott has shown that it's maybe just a little bit above everybody else. They've got incredible depth. Omaha Scott does, but you know that they're sweating bullets with Lincoln Pius the 10th in the first round there. So I like Scott to win it all, but every one of those teams legitimately has a chance. Elkhorn South Gretna, that matchup in the quarterfinals, I mean, that's ridiculous. There's no fewer than 6 future Division I players on the court at one time when those two teams play. Wow. So it's the amount of talent there. And then, Aurora, I know that's a Striv school. They get an incredibly tough draw. I mean, anytime you play a 7 seed that's a defending state champion, and Norris has got probably one of the most complete players in the state in Kylie Holen, who's headed to Furman. And then they've got 2 Division II players as well, and Maddie Bruder, who's heading to Northwest Missouri State, and then Peyton Rule, who's headed up to Wayne State to set. But, I like Aurora a lot. Allison Penner, in my opinion, one of the best setters in the state. She's 5'11". She plays extremely high above the net. She's offensive-minded. She's got, of course, Coach's daughter, Kylie Hickson, is a very complete player as well. So I like Aurora. I think that they got a chance to do some damage. And then, of course, I know Grand Island Northwest is a Strive school as well. That's going to be interesting to watch. I actually think they got a good draw, and that's no disrespect to Elkhorn. I mean it from a matchup standpoint. Elkhorn is young. They don't have any state tournament experience. Grand Island Northwest is basically starting over this year with everybody, and you look at an Aaron Schleicher, Kelsey Plackey, Alexandra Carlini. I mean, Grand Island Northwest has some talent, and so it wouldn't surprise me to see them get through that first-round match as well.
How hard is it to prepare for a team like Northwest? Obviously the tradition, but I was looking at their stats today. It looks like they had 5 to 6 girls that have between 130 and 170 kills, and there's nobody. A lot of teams will have a horse. You look at an Emma Benton or someone like that who they just go to every time. How hard is it to prepare for a team that's so balanced? A team like Northwest is.
Yeah, well, one, you're assuming that I have much knowledge about it, which is setting the bar way too high. But I mean, it is extremely difficult, and when you factor in the fact that it's Grand Island Northwest, I mean, Diane's going to have that team as prepared as anybody, and it's incredibly difficult because you don't necessarily know where you want to put your blocks or slide a double block to. Northwest is going to be their volleyball IQ will make it difficult on you regardless. So when you can get balls, as long as the placement and the distribution is on point, which it will be, it makes it very hard to stop. And plus, Northwest will frustrate the heck out of you defensively with their block and their ability to get balls up. So it's a tough challenge for Elkhorn with Northwest because you don't necessarily have anybody to focus on, and you've got to be mentally tough because they will make you earn every single point.
All right, well, let's move to A. Papillion La Vista, 40-0, ninth in the nation, I believe. Can anybody beat them?
I think so. I mean, you talk to people around the state. I mean, it's interesting because if Papillion La Vista wins these next three, 43-0, they'd be only the third undefeated Class A champion ever. They'd have to be in the conversation for one of the best teams of all time. But people are optimistic about chances to beat them still, and I think that's because Papillion La Vista doesn't have, like the Rolfson twins or just dominant players. They are just very solid and won't beat themselves. I think the biggest threat to their title is just them beating themselves or just having a match where they make mistakes that they haven't been making all year. But I know Millard West is another Striv school. I think that they have the ability to play with Papillion La Vista. But again, I think more than anything else, somebody's going to need Papillion La Vista to help them out. If Papillion La Vista plays the way they've been playing all year, I don't think anybody beats them.
Talk about the top half of that bracket with Marion, and they're obviously the defending champions and a lot of tradition there. And did I read today that if Marion would get to the finals against Papillion La Vista, it'd be the 6th time this year that they played. So that would tell me that 5 of Marion's 7 losses have been to Papillion La Vista.
Yeah, in fact, all of Marion's losses have either been to Papillion La Vista or Lincoln Southeast, the top 2 seeds. So they're very strong, but they can't fall asleep on Papillion La Vista South either. Papillion La Vista South has in Reagan LeGrand probably your best high school volleyball player in the state right now. She's headed to USC as she's just a junior, but she's the kind of athlete that can take over a match and single-handedly beat you. So they've got to be a little bit careful with Papillion La Vista South. And then even that first matchup, Lincoln Southeast is maybe a little bit vulnerable. They lost one of their best outside hitters a couple weeks ago, Tyra Douglas, to a torn ACL. So they're maybe not as strong as they have been all year. And with Lincoln North Star, you've got Sarah Alex. She's a Nebraska commit, a dominant middle. So Marion's going to have a lot of work to get through to a championship match, but it certainly would be interesting if they can get there with Papillion La Vista, a 6th shot at winning. It would be fun to watch.
Yeah. Just go back, and I can be a Striv school guy for a second. As I looked at all the matchups today, is there one you're looking forward to more than North Platte and Millard West? Really intrigues me. Like it could be just a knockdown, drag out 5-setter. Do you get the same feeling or not?
I absolutely agree, and I'm gonna your Homer radar might be going off a little bit. Millard West is actually my school. My kids go to school there, so I don't want to although I'm sure Chris Loof would love if I did. I don't want to go Millard West crazy on anybody. But I do think that is the marquee match, probably that match. And coincidentally, you're going to have Elkhorn South playing Gretna at the exact same time on the other court. So, I mean, you're going to have incredible volleyball going on. And that Millard West North Platte match is going to be phenomenal simply because they're pretty identical. I think you look at Millard West, Cassidy Loberg, she's a 6-foot junior middle. She's an absolute beast. She'll wind up playing Division I. They also have Bridget Peterson, a 6-foot sophomore that I like a lot in the middle. And then you take it over to North Platte. They've got Olivia Nicholson, a 6-foot Colorado State recruit. They've got Jessie Hunt, another middle at 6'1". She'll be a really nice NAIA Division II player. So their strengths are similar in the middle. I think North Platte could give them trouble. They've got Allison Coonley on the outside, who's as aggressive and as good of a hitter on the outside as anybody. But I think Millard West is incredibly strong. I think defensively, you've got Sydney Young, you've got Jordan Daniel, provide great back row play. To me, the key for Millard West is going to be they need somebody other than Cassie Loberg or Bridget Peterson to step up and do something. Kira Shapiro, she actually just committed to Division II Bridgeport today. Or I shouldn't say committed, she signed. She probably needs to have double-digit kills or somebody else on the outside, a Sydney Stockfleet, a Brandon Burling, and Alexi Woodward. Somebody like that, if they can step up and have double-digit kills from the outside for Millard West, I think they can beat North Platte. And I think both those teams, North Platte and Millard West, legitimately have a shot to beat Papillion La Vista in the next round.
Awesome stuff. Berk, would you just run through maybe some of the stuff you're doing on your site during the state volleyball and what fans can come see at NebraskaPrepVolleyball.com?
Yeah, well, I appreciate that opportunity. You know what? We just try and give as much comprehensive coverage of high school volleyball and even club volleyball during that season at NebraskaPrepVolleyball.com. We put out or have been putting out daily podcasts as well. You can actually subscribe to through iTunes, or you can get them on our website. But we will be giving as many updates and providing live coverage from the state tournament. You can follow our Twitter feed as well. I will annoy the heck out of you with so many tweets, especially during the state volleyball tournament. But
we're really good at that too, so
yeah.
We don't mind.
Match with Tony with football.
So, that's really, we make it all about the kids and the teams. So we'll give you as many player interviews and things like that as possible, let you listen to the audio of those interviews through our podcast. So to me, I love volleyball. To me, it's an incredible sport. And boy, this is like Christmas morning coming our way tomorrow. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Very good. Well, we appreciate you coming on. I apologize to everybody who I told to go watch Cozad and Ashland Greenwood Friday night if they needed a volleyball break, because that's going to be like the A and B semifinals. So just ignore me. Do the volleyball thing, and it should be a fun weekend. I'm excited to get. Again, as much as we love having these kids out at the event center and out here in Grand Island, for them to have the opportunity to play at Pinnacle Bank and also obviously to play those final matches at the Devaney Center. I'd imagine if you played volleyball in Nebraska, there's not any place else you'd rather play than the Devaney Center. So good for the NSAA for doing that, and it should be a fun weekend. We'll follow you on Twitter, and we'll have as many updates as we can too. So thanks for being on with us, Berk. Appreciate it.
Hey, my pleasure. You guys keep up the great work.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Berk. And that will wrap up this Wednesday's edition of Prep Huddle Live. The recording will be up on the live show page, and we'll tweet that out as well. And want to thank all of you for tuning in. And like Tony and Berk said, we'll have some coverage from state volleyball and from the state football semifinals, 11-man games. As Tony said, that page has been built. We'll get the Score Stream app in there. So it's got all the radio webcast links as well. and we'll keep on moving here as state championship is in the air with the cold, brisk weather here. So we will talk to you all later, and have a great evening.